by unlocking Real 5G to drive more immersive VR. Keep mobile PCs always connected.
It's on.
Hey, I'm sorry, y'all. We're working on music for today, and
Yes.
she got that going, and I got this going.
You said we had already done that.
I know, but
Black History Month.
Black History Month, and I love me some Sam Cooke.
I love Sam Cooke too. But guess what? I got melanin.
She got it.
I got melanin.
Mm.
I got melanin. Black History Month.
It is Black History Month.
We got to close it off with the
Mike.
yes.
Mike got something.
All right. I was just trying to get y'all in the groove.
It's been one of those type of months.
It's man.
As we are getting ready for, I think we're about to have a wonderful trip. What you think?
Yes, it's going to be a nice trip. It's going to be really good. I'm excited.
We're going to go down to New Orleans for 2019.
Yes.
Mardi Gras.
Mm-hmm.
This will be Maya's first trip.
Yes, I've never been.
New Orleans.
So I'm excited to see some history.
Several times. It's been a lot of history. And I think the reason why we talk about Black History Month as we wind down the quote unquote month for Black history.
Yes.
It is just, it's been a lot that's been going on in the world as of late, both in the political arena, both in family life. Also just, it's just a time I think we as people, we look to our ancestors, we're looking to our history, we're looking to our past. There's a lot of questions that are being asked. And I think there's been some discernment about our culture, our history, not just where we celebrate 1 month.
Right.
But
we understand that it is something, 365 days of a year that we celebrate, that we recognize, that we move in. This,
spiritual beings having a human experience.
Yes.
And that's what causes us to celebrate, I think, as we get up each day of our lives, knowing who we are inside, what we are called to do, and how we're going to go about doing it. But before we really go in depth about Black History Month, welcome to the Tea. I'm your man, Chauncey Anderson, and this young lady right here.
I'm your co-host, Miyake Anderson.
And we welcome you guys once again. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you for supporting and watching us and being with us in this beginning stages. I'm not sure where this will take us, but I see great things
truly
in the future. So just hang with us.
Hang tight.
Hang with us.
It's a great thing when you start a program like this, a platform with your spouse, with someone that you are deeply in love with, that you're grateful and honored to be with, that it allows you to take something that's just happened in our household where we sat down together and we would talk about individual and different topics, from finances, healthcare, family, educations that you can think of. And then we came up with the idea of taking what we do in our household and bringing it to an audience via YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, various social medias. But the thing of it is that this particular month is the celebration for Black history. And where do you begin? Do we start right here in the 21st century? Do we trace back to time period where that a lot of both our youth as well as our elders, those in between, should know about those ancestors that came before us? First and foremost, every time I think about Black History Month, I immediately think about Harriet Tubman.
Yes.
For me, first and foremost, as a Black man, she is kind of like, call it Superwoman.
Yeah.
This woman did things that were truly unbelievable. And I think when you say Harriet Tubman's name, it resonates.
It does.
With everybody.
It really does. They call her the Moses the time for the Exodus.
Yes,
Yeah,
indeed.
yeah.
And it was during the time where our people were enslaved.
Mm-hmm.
It was a time where she was receiving, I mean, just the notion that she left herself first and foremost.
Yeah.
You know, and
but she,
go ahead,
in
babe.
her spirit,
Yes.
had it in her, in the love of her people,
Mm-hmm.
To go back.
Yes.
To retrieve her brothers, her family members.
Mm-hmm.
And then that wasn't even enough.
No.
Because she recognized that all of them were her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And to go back and continue to do this. And then to continue to have a vision and a forethought of how to put things and people in place.
Right.
So that she was able to get as many people out as she could. That is bravery. When you are facing the sureness of death.
Right.
And you've gotten your picture plastered everywhere with rewards warning you. And yet and still you continue to go back and save as many as you did.
Oh, yeah,
and even
true.
when freedom came, the fact that she even worked with the military, that she knew the terrain so well.
That's where I was going to go.
Yes, that she worked with the military in helping them beat out their enemies and explaining the terrain.
Yes. And my thing of it is that, and I was going to just stay with her for a moment. Our ancestor. You know, that's how I'm
because that is what she is.
That's exactly what she is.
And you can pull
first
from
and foremost
her.
To me.
Yes.
As an ancestor, when she made a decision upon that day that she was going to run away, nothing deterred her, nothing hindered her. Something made her, when nightfall hit, pick up and go out in a pitch black of darkness in the south, move through all of the wooded areas out there, not knowing what was what, knowing that she could quite possibly either be shot, run down, had the dogs released on her, the many different things going through the swamps and all that to get from that point A, where she was enslaved, to point B, which allowed her to have her freedom.
Right.
And after that was done, and being, some people just think like, oh, I'm free. It's kind of like I use like if you're playing a game or something, you got to get from one end to the other. If you get to that end, you're like, "Whoo, I did it. I made it."
Yeah.
As Maya said, she said, after she recovered, it wasn't good enough. She had to go back and get her loved ones, and anyone else that would be willing
to go on that trip,
to take that trip. I mean, to know the land navigation, the swamps, the trees, the stars, everything that she had to use, her mind got her through that. And that's what that Underground Railroad, because nobody knew how she was moving, and that's
what's
the
amazing
part
about her too, as we talk about Black history, is the spirituality, because even with her doing this, she stated that she was receiving messages from God on how to move.
Oh yeah.
And how to take people and how to do this, that it wasn't her alone, but through her spirituality and her belief in God, that she was being directed. So this tells you that we as a people are directly, divinely connected. If we would just slow down, seek and ask, and then listen.
Oh yeah.
That we would be directed in a way that we would be able to get ourselves out of a lot of predicaments that we're in, and to have that love for one another to go back and get, and that, that's that, no matter it's a financial, education, whatever, those who go out and able to become a lawyer, a doctor, or whatever profession you get into, but to have the mindset like she had, I made it. But that's just not enough. I got to go back and I got to go show my sisters and brothers how I did this. If they want to move in this way, and get to this career, I got to go back to my community like she did, and move and get.
Hey, Manika, how you doing, sis?
And go back and get those, whether they're family, friends, or whatever, if they're ready to move forward. And I think that takes a lot, and that's something we're missing in our community.
Right. And I think, as Maya's just saying, I mean, what she did is almost like you bring it 21st century.
Yeah.
This platform, the T, is almost in the same instance, because so many people out there are quick to try to keep the Black community away from doing what we are supposed to be doing, coming together as a people. They don't want us to do that. It's even in our Black community that our own people don't want us to come together to do things as it is. But I'm gonna tell you like this: the tea is wide open. You know, they can just shut us off if they want to. But this movement that we're gonna talk about and having our people come together and to do things that we believe would be beneficial for generations to come, not just, you know, for Maya and I, we may not see what the tea may do in the long term. We want our ancestors now, our mothers, our fathers, our grandparents. We also want our brothers and sisters to be able to know what this is about, but we also want our children. We also want our grandchildren.
We don't want any of this forgotten.
And
I think a lot of things have been forgotten, and that's why we're moving the way that we're moving. But with Black History Month, it started out as Negro History Week in 1926. So they gave us a week. That was in 1926. It started out just being 7 days.
7 days.
And they picked the February, the second week in February, because it coincided with Abraham Lincoln's birthday that was on February 12th, and Frederick Douglass' birthday, which was February 14th. So they thought they would just slide that weekend.
That would be
and they said, you know, that would be the time you can highlight and remember all of the I'm trying to think of the words, contributions. That's what I'm thinking of. Sorry. Contributions that Africans made in America for the Africa movement. And so they gave us a week. And
they thought that would be sufficient.
They did think it was.
Suffice it to say, the challenges of it is that, like I said earlier with Harriet Tubman, there were men and women that were doing amazing things at this time and during this time that we don't even think about giving credit to or homage to or paying respects to. I mean, God forbid, and like I say again, love Dr. Martin Luther King, love Malcolm X, you know, love W.B. Du Bois, love Booker T. Washington. But there was a brother that was back during the 1800s, 1812 to be exact. This brother's name was Martin Delany, and this brother was just something off the charts. And he did something that I never forget. We spoke about Harriet Tubman, how she started the Underground Railroad and brought people forward. Martin Delany was the type of gentleman that he not only went to college, and the thing of it is, when he was in college with two others, the three of them, there were a white protest because they were about to graduate from college. And they said they did not want, the white kids said they did not want to graduate with the three Negroes. So Martin Delany, he decided to leave. He went to Africa. He came back. He had a son and he was sick. But he also brought in slaves. And I remember, you know, and I was listening to actually Dr. John Henry Clark tell the story. And he said that Martin Delany went to Congress and he told this story. He said that I know your Constitution because you taught it to me. He said, I understand because I'm educated. He said, but because they were trying to still get the white slave owners were still trying to get their slaves back. Even after they had ended. And he said that that if even the president of the United States had come with the Constitution in his hand and the Bill of Rights as a shield, that Tom Delany said that, and he tried to cross his door to take one of his brothers that might have been a slave. He said, if I didn't kill him dead right where he stood, he said that he would hope that the ground would not receive him in the grave. That right there impacted me so much, because I think out here today, we don't even give enough respect to our ancestors or this particular month that we call Black History Month as it pertains to it, because it will help us move forward each and every day, each and every month, without even thinking about it, with all the craziness that's going on, we won't get distracted because we know what our focus
we have an objective.
We know what we need to be about that business. Especially, again, Black History Month. When you spend an annually between 1.2 to 1.6 trillion dollars on everything else under the sun, but what would help your neighborhood, your community,
right,
and your nation?
Yeah,
we do ourselves and our ancestors a great disservice.
Yeah, we take like 5 steps back for some reason.
We know
instead
it
of coming forward and taking the challenge.
Yes.
We just don't do that.
We won't
do that.
We don't
it's
give ourselves enough credit. We don't give ourselves enough belief in ourselves to say, hey, let's challenge ourselves to do some of the great things if we but looked in that history,
right,
and charge ourselves with one of the many great ancestors that were there before us that cleared that path. I know they always spotlight those that we know,
but there's so many that we don't know.
So many.
Oh yes, there's so many that we don't know. And if you ever go on our Instagram page, we have highlighted so many different types of people in different areas, in different career genres, way back in the silent and the greatest generation, and what they did, and the courage it must have took them to do certain things. But it seems like they were alone and moving in their space alone. And I don't know if that's because others didn't want to come along,
or the struggle,
was just too real. Yeah. And so only one was able to do certain things in that area or whatever. But with this month, in like all through the year, I think, we get caught up in Black History Month, and we get caught up in the clothes. We get caught up in the music. It's become kind of like Christmas, but for but for Black history, it's kind of like we always stay at a surface level. We never go deeper. We're still celebrating the way they taught us to celebrate in 3rd grade. So we're still learning about the same people you learned in 3rd grade. Those are the people you still hear about. No one's like elevating the conversation. We might go out and you'll have like certain events for Black History Month, but nobody really getting up and really speaking about situations to make change, to make you and I accountable, make you go home and say, hey, I can move in this space and this is what I'm willing to do. We kind of just slept it off. You hear it, you see it, basketball games, they wear their little jerseys for Black, History Month or whatever. And then it's gone and it's done until next February. And that's something that we want to change. We want every month to be highlighted as our month, because it is our month. And every month there are tons of Black Americans who have done outstanding things. I mean, we built this country. We built this country.
Well, I mean, that's
we should always be part of the conversation, and we're not. And we don't even put ourselves in the conversation. And I don't know if it's because it makes people uncomfortable, but it's this time in our lives that we need to make people uncomfortable. I mean, you see what's going on with our president. And, and they boldly move. They boldly move and tell you where they think you should be and what you should be doing and where you need to live at and all of that. But we need to be just as bold. We need to be just as bold and just as vocal. Because we are the chosen people. There is nothing to fear.
Well, and that's our biggest thing, is that if we're not willing to challenge ourselves, not just for the month of February, about our culture and our communities and our traditions, and sometimes that's what they say. Every other cultures look back towards their history. To find out where they're going to start it at. And knowingly, we have that history, but it's not put in the history books because we don't demand it. We don't demand it, so that, I mean, we can be a community of about 99% in a city that's all Black, and we'll still accept what they give us. The city council will control our dollars.
Bunch of mouth.
They will continue to tax us. the law enforcement community will
continue
be
to come in, abuse, kill, and because they don't understand your way of life, the way you talk, the way you think.
Right.
They don't know anything about you, and nor do they care to learn about you. So that fear going into your community is already at 10.
Yeah.
So, soon as you open your mouth or they see you, you're automatically a threat. And I always think, I'm like, I don't know what they see when they look at us. It's crazy that, somebody, you don't even have to be a police officer. You could be walking down the street, and the fear or the look in their eyes, the awe and the confusion and then the terror is like all mixed together. And it's like, what is it when they look at us that they see? And I always believe it's not really the skin color, but it's who we are.
Right.
Like they know something about us that we don't know about ourselves. And it terrifies them. Right. And instead of facing it, they see like their demise. So instead of looking at you, I'd rather take you out.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Well, and that's what I'm saying, because by nature, because we're spiritual people, and we almost unconditionally love not only ourselves, but everyone else that comes into it. It's almost kind of hard for them to see that which they have done to our people,
right?
That you could still have that type of love. And that's a challenge. I don't think anyone else. Ours isn't being spiteful to try to go hard at them, because we know we could, overtake them at any moment. If we collectively come together,
right?
It wouldn't even be an issue.
Yeah.
But our biggest challenge is that when we look at one another, will we have that same trust? Will we have that same love and that same honor, that respect that's necessary? So when we do things together, we're not easily overtaken or broken up by someone else. When I'm at work, sometimes it'll be 2 to 3 Black people that come in my office, and we're standing there talking. I always get this one.
It's always like that in every workplace.
That comes by, and they sneak in and be like, "Hey, don't let them see y'all together." Like, why the hell not?
Why not? Those things we continue to keep that alive. We continue, let that go. That's like, we must leave the slave mentality where it is. We have come too far to continue to keep those things alive.
Yeah, we stereotype and stuff
ourselves.
For what?
Yes.
It makes no sense. The things that we owe for going forward in this society, we as men and women, African American men and women, Black, if you want to, however you want to word it, we need to stand tall, stand erect,
right,
and also have that right mind about what we're doing and what our goals, our dreams, our aspirations, how we want to see things. And once we do, we just move forward. We move forward past the dumb stuff of what's going on, because our ancestors have set a course.
They plowed
none other.
They plowed that road that we can come behind them and pave it. And I don't know what we've done. If they were to come back, I don't know. The disappointment in their eyes.
They would say? This is what I think they would say. They would go like, "Why did you guys not look at the Tekken over in Egypt or throughout the continent of Africa? Why did you look at, as we like to call them, the pyramids? They're known as the Mer. Why did you not see those structures? As we call it, the Sphinx, Peru and Mokenti. Why did you not look to that? We stop here at the United States at the water's edge, and we think this is where we began."
Well, not even going. We didn't even have to go that far back.
I'm just saying,
if we just picked up the torch where they left off, wherever Marcus Garvey dropped off, somebody could have came and said, "I will take up his mantle." Wherever Harriet Tubman dropped off, I will take up his mantle. Wherever Carter dropped off, I will take up his mantle. It was the process that they had was written down. And the thought process of what they were seeing in the future was laid out. If somebody would have just came and picked up the mantle instead of watching them do all the work, and we all galvanized at during those times, then it's like they did all this work just to drop it, and once they were gone, everybody just put their head down and walked away. It was like, well, that's it. We don't have any more hope. That person is gone. Yeah. I'm like, but there's so many more of you, and you knew the vision. They told you the vision. They were showing you how to move in it. Why didn't anyone just pick it up and keep going?
Move with it.
I don't know what happened.
Because,
I don't know.
I mean, just like you said Huey P. Newton.
Oh, yeah.
The Black Panthers.
The Black Panthers.
The things that they were doing, all we really concentrated on, and this was Professor James Small said, he said, we concentrate on the weapons and what they did and standing up.
We won't
what
move
about
past
WIC? They were the ones that originally started that program that helped women and children that had need.
Because they were about the community. They always want to talk about the violence part. But the truth is, they were building the community. And that was the biggest threat.
True.
The guns and all that, that's one thing. But the biggest threat they saw is that they were bringing people together. They were bringing, and they were taking care of the women, and they were taking care of the children. Because guess what? If they could step in and do that, then they wouldn't need the government, right? So now those fathers could come home, right? Now we're building families again, right? Because we're dependent on each other. And the Black Panthers saw that, and they put that into motion. And that was the biggest threat, is putting back together of Black families and Black communities.
And that right there,
and that couldn't happen.
Is your empire.
Yes.
And that's what
they had to stop that.
They came in and said that they could not have that.
Yeah.
Because at that point we were moving by, great leaps and bounds.
Right.
And we were setting up structures.
Right.
We were setting up programs that help one another
from city to city. Yeah. They were coordinated. There's no internet. There's no, but they were coordinating with it. Yes, with each other. Right.
Still worked. Everybody got the word.
This is what we're going to do. And people stuck to the script.
So true. And they
stuck to the script. They didn't try and be hero or look at me or I gotta be, known for this.
Yes.
They were the Black Panthers, and together that was good enough.
And those men and women were educated.
Yeah, they were educated. They made you think that they weren't.
They made sure that what they were talking about, it was factual.
Right.
It wasn't something that you look up and it'd be like, oh, well, that probably didn't ever happen. No, it did happen. And that's what hits here home for us in our household and the things that we're working towards doing is that we are trying to ensure that those legacies, they don't go, they are always given a presence in our conversations that we have with people, things that we got going on in our lives.
Yes.
When we talk to one another about what we want to do. I think we were at an event yesterday. And here's the funniest thing, a couple of days ago, the 22nd to be exact, Maya and I celebrated our third 3-year anniversary. Okay, 3 years. I do this, but so anyway, 3-year anniversary, right?
Right.
So we're at this event yesterday, and we're talking to this young man, this young brother, and Jonathan, I believe.
Jonathan.
And the conversation was going. We was talking about a bunch of different things, and it got on the topic of he was going to be getting engaged.
Yeah. Or good. It's going to come to fruition, and those fruits are going to drop. So people will see it. So you can call it what you want to, but the evidence has been laid out.
And that's what we was doing today. We was outside tending to the yard, and we was tending to the garden, and you got some dead dross. We trying to plant
weeds and
good things.
Yes, we're trying to plant. Yep.
Before, we could go on a little bit longer, but now, I'm gonna see you got something you want to close.
I just want to say before we end, we do want to give homage to Cater G. Woodson, and he is the gentleman that started the Black History or the Negro History Week.
Thank you. That
evolved into Black History Month, and we the T. We'll have it evolve until Black History Year. Yeah, 365 days. We're going to work on that. That's right. It's about the Black community, and it will continue to be that way.
No, well, actually, I'm not sorry.
And even on our Instagram, when you look on there, I think I only have one picture of a white man, and it's talking about Dred Scott.
And
but everybody else,
that's that Supreme
yes,
Court
I had to put that up there
knucklehead.
because I wanted y'all to understand how they really feel about
Oh,
us
yeah.
and how that Dred Scott case, I will always talk about this, has not been reversed. We are not American citizens.
Yes.
We are not human in their eyes. And
They-
so
in
you
which-
wonder why the justice system treats us like we do. Go back and read the Constitution.
Oh,
Go
yeah.
back and read
Read that
Dred
case.
Scott. Yes. And
Yes.
then go back and read the 13th and 14th Amendment and really understand what they're saying there.
We gonna switch over
Yes.
to the
Well,
other
we got to
side
go to
because
Facebook because I'm about to get
I
all.
let go.
We finna
It's-
go to
it's
another
over,
whole nother
y'all.
world.
Hey, we love
But
you
we
guys.
love you guys.
Again,
It's been
February
exciting.
2019. This is only second month of the year.
Yes.
Get it in. Do what you're supposed to be doing. Don't let nobody stop you.
That's right.
We
Because
got
why?
number love.
Why?
Here
We
she
got
go. Okay.
melanin. I got
Okay,
melanin.
we love y'all. We got to get back over
I
to see how
got melanin.
my
I got melanin.
okay. Much love to all my people. Peace.
Bye, guys.